Girl vanished from bedroom, while parents slept downstairs. 11 years later, new homeowners demolish wall and find secret room. Pinecrest was the kind of town where people left their doors unlocked at night. The kind of place where everyone knew everyone else, where the biggest news in the local paper was usually about fundraisers for the high school band or debates over the new stoplight on Main Street. The Harmon family had lived in their two-story colonial on Maple Drive for nearly 20 years. James was a respected architect who designed most of the newer buildings in town, and Ellen ran the local library. Their only daughter, Lily, had just graduated from Pinecrest High School with honors and was preparing to leave for college in the fall. She was a thoughtful, artistic girl who spent most of her time in her bedroom painting landscapes and abstract pieces that her parents didn't quite understand but proudly displayed throughout their home. That summer had been largely uneventful. Lily worked part-time at the ice cream shop downtown and spent her evenings finalizing her college plans. She had been accepted to the prestigious Rhode Island School of Design, fulfilling her lifelong dream of studying art professionally. James and Ellen couldn't have been prouder. Though they dreaded the day they would have to help her move into her dorm room, leaving them with an empty nest for the first time in 19 years. "I think I'll keep her room exactly as it is," Ellen had told her husband one night as they sat on their back porch watching fireflies dance across the yard. "For when she comes home for holidays and summer breaks." James had smiled and squeezed his wife's hand. "She's only going to school, Elle, not disappearing forever." The irony of those words would haunt him for years to come. In the weeks leading up to her disappearance, Lily had begun acting strangely. She mentioned having vivid dreams that she couldn't quite remember upon waking, but that left her with a sense of dread. She'd taken to locking her bedroom door at night, something she'd never done before, and her parents had noticed her spending hours staring at the walls of her room as if trying to see something beyond them. When they asked her about it, she would smile distractedly and say she was just thinking about art projects. "I feel like I'm onto something big," she told her mother 3 days before she vanished. "Like I'm about to understand something important." Ellen had assumed she was talking about her artwork, maybe a new technique or style she was developing before starting art school. The morning of August 17th began like any other. Ellen made blueberry pancakes, Lily's favorite, and the three of them ate breakfast together on the back porch, discussing plans for the day. James had a meeting with clients in the neighboring town. Ellen was hosting a summer reading finale at the library. Lily planned to stay home and work on a new painting. "Will you be okay here by yourself all day?" Ellen asked, though Lily was 19 and perfectly capable of being alone. "Mum, I've been home alone 1,000 times, Lily laughed, rolling her eyes good-naturedly. "Besides, I've got something I need to finish." She had been working on a series of strange paintings lately, fractured perspectives of their house that seemed to reveal impossible angles and hidden spaces. Her parents had attributed it to her experimental phase before college. James kissed his daughter's forehead before heading out the door. "See you at dinner, Pumpkin. We'll bring home pizza." Ellen left an hour later, calling up the stairs to say goodbye to Lily, who had retreated to her room to work. Lily called back a distracted, "Love you, Mom. See you tonight." Those were the last words Ellen would hear her daughter speak. When James and Ellen returned home that evening, the house was quiet. Too quiet. Usually Lily played music while she painted, anything from classical to indie rock, depending on her mood. But the silence that greeted them was absolute. "Lily?" Ellen called, setting the pizza box on the kitchen counter. No answer. James headed upstairs to Lily's room, knocking on the door. When there was no response, he tried the handle. Locked. "Lily, we're home. Dinner's ready." Still nothing. A faint sense of unease crept into his stomach as he knocked again, harder this time. "Lily, open the door, please." The silence stretched on. Ellen joined him in the hallway, concern etched on her face. Maybe she's got her headphones on? After several more attempts, James used the small key they kept on top of the doorframe to unlock Lily's room. The door swung open to reveal nothing out of the ordinary. Lily's bed was neatly made. Her easel, stood in the center of the room with a half-finished painting still wet with fresh strokes. Her paintbrushes were arranged precisely on her desk, as if she had just set them down. Her phone lay charging on her nightstand. Her wallet sat on her dresser with her driver's license, visible through the clear plastic window. But Lily was gone. She must have gone out with friends, Ellen suggested, though her voice trembled slightly. But she would have texted. They checked the bathroom, the backyard, the basement. They called her friends, none of whom had seen her. They called the ice cream shop where she worked, but she hadn't been there. As the hours passed with no sign of their daughter, panic set in. The strangest part was that the house had been locked from the inside. All windows were closed and secured. The security system showed no record of the doors opening after Ellen had left that morning. It was as if Lily had simply vanished into thin air from inside her locked bedroom. When the police arrived, they were equally baffled. There were no signs of struggle or forced entry. Lily's laptop showed only that she had been researching dimension, theory and quantum physics, odd for an art student, but nothing suspicious. Her last internet search had been about thin places, locations where the boundary between dimensions was supposedly weaker. "What's the most confusing thing," Detective Morgan told the distraught parents the next day, "is that there's literally no evidence of her leaving the house. It's like she walked through the walls." The investigation expanded. Volunteers from town formed search parties, combing the woods behind the Harmon house. Police analyzed security camera footage from nearby businesses and homes, but Lily never appeared on any of them. Her bank accounts remained untouched. Her social media accounts showed no activity after her disappearance. One particularly bizarre detail troubled investigators. In the center of Lily's room, they found a perfect circle of an unidentifiable powder. Analysis revealed it contained minerals not native to the area, along with organic compounds the lab couldn't identify. When questioned, her parents had no idea where it came from or what it meant. As days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, the active investigation slowly wound down. The police had exhausted all leads. The community's interest waned as new tragedies and scandals took center stage in local gossip. But James Harmon refused to give up. While Ellen retreated into grief, eventually seeking therapy and trying to piece together some semblance of a normal life, James became obsessed. He quit his architecture firm to focus full-time on finding Lily. He converted their garage into an investigation headquarters with maps, timelines, and photos covering every wall. He consulted psychics, paranormal investigators, and theoretical physicists. He traveled to meet other families of missing persons, hoping to find patterns or connections. He spent their savings on private investigators who ultimately told him the same thing the police had. There was no explanation for how Lily had disappeared from a locked house without a trace. The strain destroyed their marriage. 3 years after Lily vanished, Ellen filed for divorce. "I've lost my daughter," she told James tearfully. "I can't lose myself too, and I can't watch you destroy yourself like this." Ellen moved to her sister's house in another state. James stayed in the house on Maple Drive, though he could barely afford it on his dwindling savings. He slept in Lily's room most nights, hoping for some sign, some clue he had missed. The house fell into disrepair as James's obsession consumed him. 7 years after Lily's disappearance, the bank finally foreclosed. On the day James was forced to leave, neighbors watched him sitting in his car outside the house for hours, unwilling to drive away. He eventually moved into a small apartment across town, but he never stopped searching. The house sat empty for nearly a year. Local real estate agents struggled to sell it, partly because of its deteriorated condition, but mostly because everyone in town knew about the girl who had vanished without a trace. Teenagers dared each other to sneak onto the property at night, claiming they could hear whispering coming from Lily's old bedroom window. Finally, the bank put the house up for auction, selling it for well below market value. The new owners were a young couple from the city, Mark and Sophie Chen, They were attracted by the low price and saw the haunted house rumors as ridiculous superstitions. They had no connection to Pinecrest and had never heard of Lily Harmon. "The place needs work, but the bones are good," Mark told Sophie as they walked through the empty rooms. "We can fix it up, flip it, and make a nice profit." Sophie, who worked remotely as a software engineer, was more interested in making it their home. "It's got character and plenty of space for when we start a family." They began renovations immediately as they stripped wallpaper, replaced flooring, and updated fixtures. They occasionally found strange things, symbols etched into hidden corners, tiny vials of the same unidentified powder that investigators had found years earlier, and most bizarrely, fragments of paintings hidden inside the walls. Pieces that seemed to match together but never quite fit, showing impossible angles of the house itself. "The previous owners must have been into some weird stuff," Mark commented, when they found a collection of small animal bones arranged in a geometric pattern inside a kitchen cabinet. They tossed the oddities away, focused on transforming the house into their dream home. 11 months after purchasing the house, while renovating what had once been Lily's bedroom, Mark noticed something strange. "Hey, Soph!" he called to his wife, who was painting the hallway. "Does this wall seem right to you?" Sophie joined him, frowning as he showed her the blueprints they'd found in the basement. "According to this, there should be at least 3 more feet between this wall and the exterior wall." They tapped on the drywall, listening to the hollow sound. "There's space back there," Mark said. "A lot of space." Curious and slightly uneasy, they decided to cut into the wall. Mark used a reciprocating saw to carefully cut a rectangular opening. As the piece of drywall fell away, they were hit with a wave of stale air and a strange, sweet scent, like dried flowers mixed with ozone. Sophie shined her flashlight through the opening, then gasped. Beyond the false wall was another room, a complete bedroom, untouched and perfectly preserved. Colorful paintings hung on the walls. Books lined a small shelf. A twin bed with a purple comforter sat against one wall. A desk held an array of paintbrushes, arranged exactly as they had been left. A thin layer of dust covered everything, but otherwise it looked as if someone had been living there until moments ago. "What the hell?" Mark whispered, enlarging the opening so they could step through. The room was an exact replica of Lily's bedroom, or rather, it was her actual bedroom, somehow concealed behind a false wall that, according to the original house plans, shouldn't have existed. But what made Sophie scream when she saw it was the message written across the mirror in what looked like lipstick. "I'm still here. I can see you. Help me get back." Below the message was a date, August 17th, the day Lily had disappeared. Except the year indicated it had been written only 3 months ago. The police arrived within the hour. The case of Lily Harmon's disappearance, long cold, suddenly became active again. Forensics teams carefully documented and collected evidence from the hidden room. The lipstick used for the message was identified as the same brand Lily had owned. Fingerprint analysis of the room showed only Lily's prints, impossibly fresh for a room that had been sealed for 11 years. Someone contacted James Harmon, who rushed to his old house, still clutching a photo of Lily he carried everywhere. When he saw the hidden room, he collapsed to his knees, sobbing. "I knew she was still here," he kept saying. "I knew it." The investigation intensified as experts tried to make sense of the impossible room. The most disturbing discovery came when they removed the paintings from the walls. Behind each one was a detailed drawing in charcoal, showing the house from perspectives that shouldn't have been possible, as if viewed from inside the walls, or from below the floorboards, or from dimensions that didn't exist in normal space. And then there were the journals, dozens of them, filled with Lily's handwriting, documenting what had happened to her over the past 11 years, though the dates were jumbled, non-linear, as if time moved differently where she was. According to her writings, Lily had become fascinated with theoretical physics during her senior year, specifically with the concept of parallel dimensions. Her art had always helped her visualize complex concepts, and she began painting what she called thin places in the house, points where she believed the barrier between dimensions was weaker. On the day she disappeared, Lily wrote that she had made a breakthrough. She had created a mixture of compounds based on ancient alchemical formulas combined with more modern theories of quantum entanglement. She drew the circle, recited words from texts she'd found online, and watched in amazement as the wall of her bedroom seemed to ripple and fade. "I only meant to look," she had written, "just to peer through for a moment. But when I touched it, I fell through, and the doorway closed behind me." Lily described finding herself in a version of her house that existed in a parallel dimension, identical in structure but slightly off. The colors were wrong, sounds were muffled, and time moved strangely. She could see her parents sometimes, like shadows moving through fog, but they couldn't see or hear her, no matter how loudly she screamed. She wasn't alone there. She encountered others who had accidentally slipped through similar thin places, some who had been trapped for what felt like centuries, though they hadn't aged. They taught her how to survive in this in-between place, how to observe the normal world, and most importantly, how to occasionally affect small things on the other side. The most shocking revelation came near the end of her journals. Lily had discovered that she could create a momentary window back to her dimension during certain astronomical alignments. She had been trying for years to communicate, causing the strange phenomena that had been attributed to the house being haunted. The previous year, she had managed to manipulate matter enough to create a sealed room behind her original bedroom wall, a perfect recreation where she could leave messages for anyone who might find it. "The next alignment is in 3 days," read her final entry, dated just 1 week before Mark and Sophie had broken through the wall. "I'll be waiting at the thin place. If someone has found this room, please help me. Demolish the eastern wall at exactly midnight on June 21st. The barrier will be weakest then. I might be able to come home." As scientists and paranormal experts debated the validity of Lily's claims, James Harmon had no doubts. Over Ellen's objections, she'd returned to town upon hearing the news. He convinced the authorities to let him try what Lily had suggested. If nothing happened, they would have lost nothing. If her writings were true. On the night of June 21st, exactly as the clock struck midnight, James took a sledgehammer to the eastern wall of Lily's hidden room, while researchers from various fields monitored the area with every instrument available. The wall crumbled easily, revealing not the exterior of the house as expected, but a swirling grey mist that emanated a soft, pulsing light. Instruments went haywire. Compass needles spun wildly. Digital devices flashed nonsensical readings. The temperature in the room dropped 20 degrees in seconds. And then, as everyone watched in stunned silence, a hand emerged from the mist. James grabbed it without hesitation, pulling with all his strength. There was resistance, as if something on the other side was pulling back, but James refused to let go. With a sound like air rushing from a vacuum, Lily Harmon stumbled through the opening and collapsed into her father's arms. She looked exactly as she had 11 years ago, still 19, wearing the same clothes she had disappeared, in not having aged a day, but her eyes held the wisdom and weariness of someone much older. "Dad," she whispered, touching his now grey hair and lined face. "You found me." Behind her, other faces appeared briefly in the mist. Pale, desperate, reaching out. Before, the opening collapsed with a thunderous crack, leaving only a normal exterior wall, with the night sky visible through a ragged hole. Medical examinations confirmed the impossible. The young woman was indeed Lily Harmon, with DNA matching her. Parents and physical characteristics identical to those in her missing person report. Yet she hadn't aged in 11 years. And her body showed strange anomalies, cellular structures that seemed to vibrate at frequencies not normally found in human tissue, and brain patterns that neurologists had never seen before. Lily's story defied scientific explanation, yet the evidence was undeniable. Theoretical physicists who studied her case proposed new models of multidimensional reality based on her experience. The house on Maple Drive became a research site, with scientists from around the world studying the properties of what they now called Harman's phenomenon. For James, none of that mattered. He had his daughter back, a daughter who now faced the strange reality of being a 19-year-old woman with a 30-year-old birth certificate. Ellen moved back to Pinecrest, and the family bought a new house on the other side of town, trying to rebuild some semblance of normal life. But Lily was changed by her experience. She could perceive things others couldn't, glimpses of other realities overlapping with our own. Her art transformed, depicting visions of dimensions beyond human comprehension that both disturbed and fascinated viewers. She became a reluctant celebrity, her paintings selling for enormous sums, while scientists continued to study her unique perception. And sometimes, late at night, she would wake screaming from nightmares of the others she had left behind, the ones who had been trapped for centuries, who had helped her find her way back, who still reached for her from behind thin places between worlds. "There are more of them," she told her father one night, staring out her bedroom window at the stars. "And I'm the only one who knows how to find them." The wall in the house on Maple Drive had been sealed up, the room dismantled in the name of public safety. But Lily knew what the authorities didn't. There were other thin places, other rooms hiding behind normal walls, other lost souls waiting to be found. And she had promised to help them get home.